Thank you. I'm Deniss. I'm with Levelpath, so this is technically my home base or local host, in other words. Well, I'm usually connecting through VPN, and this is allegory to working from home, but still, this is like our office. Nice to be here. I haven't done presentations for a long time, so this is my first presentation on a technical topic. Well, I think I will have a good time. I'm not so sure about you guys, so we'll see how it goes. Well, in the description that you received from DevClub, it was promised that I will do some sort of tutorial or step-by-step guide how to implement your first agent, and that's true. I will try to kind of keep my promise. It will be really simple. It will have videos with examples. It will have a little bit of code examples, but it's like important details that, yeah, no other ways to show it. So let's actually start. Let's try. So first of all, it's a little bit of repetition from previous presentation as well. Let's define a line between what is an agent and I don't know, assistant, copilot. Like what's like additional benefit of an agent. And just to define what is an agent, let's define what agent is not, right? Agent is not just a chat interface where you can like type in your request or something. We have assistants, or we call them copilots, for half a year already. We use them in multiple places. Those are these kind of boxes on every screen on the right, and there are different contexts, but essentially they are like helping users with some information, with some request. They're not doing anything in the system. They're just providing additional details. On each screen, it's a little bit different. Like, you know, for example, on this screen, it helps user to come up with a good questions when users want to buy something. When they want to order, let's say, new laptops. Like, if I am giving this task, what question should I ask suppliers, and so on. Another page, it helps user to understand an agreement text of an actual contract, so user can kind of query against it. So those are assistants, and just recently we have built our first agent, and it's called RoboBobo, and it's an internal tool. So it's not assistants are customer facing. RoboBobo is an internal tool, and RoboBobo only purpose is to help developers keep up with Jira. So, you know, if you use Jira at work, please raise your hand, or rather don't. I know you all use it, and you all love it as well. So, yeah, and probably in your place you also have some sort of process where task has to go through, and you know, and your manager sometimes asks you, like, you know, is this the right status, when this will be done, and you kind of maybe sometimes forget to update tickets and so on. So there is a help for that. At Levelpath, so yeah, welcome to join here. What RoboBobo actually, like, how is he different from our other copilots? He can actually influence the system, in this case, Jira, and do stuff there on your behalf. Okay, and I promised tutorial, we have start with assistant. To build successful assistant chat interface, what do you need? You need user prompt, so you need a chat box, right? And you also have to give assistant some sort of context, like what this assistant is helping this user with. In this case, it's current user Jira tickets, the ones that have to be planned yet. There's 4 of them. It will be just crammed in a big JSON and passed to RoboBobo as a context. Some additional context there, but mainly this. And obviously you have to have a user prompt, something like give me a summary of my tickets or whatever. That's on an interface side. On a backend side, on your actual assistant, you all heard system prompt. System prompt usually goes something like, you are a helpful assistant, you are called RoboBobo, you know, you like this name if anyone else asks you about it. And we embed that context, that big JSON, as a part of a system prompt. And then user prompt comes as a message, as a first message in that chat history. Well, question to you guys. In order to build successful contextual assistant, what is missing in this slide? Like, you know, when we're thinking chat interface, chat experience.
Format for the output, maybe?
Well,
what's expected?
Yeah, good guess. Well, we consider that like kind of part of a system prompt. There's some section of it. Yeah, but in this communication between, you know, your front end and back end piece, there's something missing here, and it's history. You know, history of messages. So your assistant is kept in a keeping a context. So yeah, that's your first step. It's a simple assistant. It can answer your question, but it cannot yet do anything in the system. Okay. All right. That's how it looks in a code. Essentially, you have some prompt. You reserve a space for your context here, and your response is plain text in this scenario. Okay. Let's see just how it works in actual system. I will pause here. I'm asking summarize my tickets here, and probably thinks for a moment and replies with some sort of summary. Okay, simple. That's assistant. It can answer some questions based on context. Let's move on. So next important piece will be JSON schema. That's what we are using. So in previous presentation, Raymond's described that they are describing JSON schema in plain text, in part of a prompt, and it works. And it works until it doesn't. Well, Raymond's left, but I guess, well, if I would have to guess that the first attempt when he was showing his part might as well fail on the AI returned invalid schema back, invalid JSON. In this, recently in August, OpenAI announced structured outputs. Essentially, they guarantee that the JSON you will ask it to return will be returned according to precise schema you provide. So before, you were just kindly asking AI, please return me this in a JSON, and the JSON should look like this. Well, again, it often worked, and sometimes didn't. So now, with structured outputs, it's much more robust. This one is specific to OpenAI. Other providers have this as well. Some do not. But well, for our example, this will do. And JSON schema is just a way to describe a JSON. Okay, so now our response. Before it was just a single line of text, and now it's some sort of JSON where our response or our text is just a tiny part of it. Okay, and then there is some other stuff. Okay, that's one. Yeah, and everything else is the same. We just add JSON schema to our implementation. Actions. This will be the first thing that will allow our assistant actually to do something and become agent. Actions we will describe is in schema as well, and all you need to know, one action, one kind of action is described by a JSON object, JSON schema object. We will come to this a bit later. A really flexible, robust, and also, I would say, a little bit clever approach is combination of array, any-of, and enums in order to describe your actions. Let's see how it works. So we describe that RoboBobo can return response describing an action, here they're called tasks, in an array. So with each return from RoboBobo, multiple actions of different types can be returned. So you ask it, please update my ticket assignee and status. One action will be returned update status with values. Second action will be returned update assignee. So this is an array of, we describe those objects as any of. Every different action is a different kind of action and kind of object as well. So we describe them separately, like as many actions we have, as many items we will have here. And let's pay attention to actually how we describe this action now. So first of all, if I ask you update a ticket for me, what is like first question that comes to your mind?
Which one?
Which one? Exactly. So Jira ticket key is essential piece to any action that actually updates some Jira ticket. We put it here, type a string, and also we make it required. So this action will never be returned if this piece of information is missing, and therefore you don't have to kind of do validation, and this system becomes kind of reliable. If we want to change a start date, we also need to know a new start date, obviously. But let me ask you next question. Here, as part of this change start date action, we have task type defined, which contains an enum, which contains just one value. Who can guess why do we need this enum with a single value to be returned like back from Robovo?
We might have more later. It's about that. We might have more values where...
Okay, good question. Yeah, but good point. But we describe each action here separately, and each action out of these four, for example, has same property task type, but with different enum value. So it's not the way how we kind of increase a pool of actions. It's just each action already has it kind of described here.
You choose just to have a sequence? Sort.
No?
Status may be final and actually ticket can be closed, another action cannot be performed.
Well, also no. Okay, now imagine I return you an array of objects. You have to perform some actions based on those objects. You take your first object. Which action will you perform? Is it update a status ticket? Is it schedule a meeting?
Whichever was first in the prompt, maybe.
It can be, order can be different, and it might not have the first one. So you see, user didn't ask for scheduling, for updating a start date. There will be no action for updating a start date. There will be some action, let's say schedule a meeting, right? And it will be first. So, any guesses? Yeah, okay.
I think you almost answered your question. So, because you have to know what kind of task type it is, like, because it's like a random order, of course.
Yeah.
It can be in a random order.
This is the answer, yes. Because if you take an object and you have to now to determine what action it is, you can check it props. What props does it have? Does it have props of a change start date action, or does it have props of some other action? But you know, action might have similar props or same props, and this enum serves as a type, you know. So when you have, if you work with GraphQL, you know, each object returned from GraphQL have a type name, so you can kind of know for sure what kind of entity it is. It's essentially describing a type of an action, and enum here is completely, you know, not needed. But JSON schemas have const as a property type, but OpenAI doesn't support const as a property type. But you can trick it by providing enum with a single value. So essentially it just says, you can read it as a const, you know, task type for this object, always return this. And then on the application side, you always know what this task is about. Okay, so this is almost the last piece of code that I'll show you, but we describe the schema for a task. But how does Robobobo knows when to use this task? And for that part, we kind of, for each task, you have corresponding description in your prompt, you know? So you define a task, update a start date, and you update an instruction. So when user asks you, or you know, you are capable of updating start dates. In order to update start date, you need to know this, and that, okay? And you know, just now you know, and you kind of describe it, and you provide a place where to put it, okay? So let's see now how it looks in the schema. Everything shown before still applies. We have action 1 or task 1 description in prompt part, and we have schema description in schema part for how many tasks we come up with, and what we receive on a system end is array of predefined, like array of valid objects or actions to act upon, okay? And then system executes an action. Let's see demo. So here, and I will read it for everybody. Simple prompt is change start date, okay? We send it to RoboBobo. It thinks for a bit. What should it do now?
Ask which task.
Yeah. It asks which one. It provides these useful buttons, to click. I select the first one. It goes back. It asks which date, right? Okay. And I'm typing yesterday. It has a context of today available to it. And this is the first one. It was 25th. And now it will become, well, yesterday. Okay? That's how it essentially, works in an example. Let's now try something a little bit different. Let me see. Yeah. So this one was just a single task, right? Now I'm asking, let's update all my rocks, right? Keep the start date of the first one, but set others 3 weeks apart. So the first one is still at 20th. This one, well, it's roughly 3 weeks, but it's still not precise. Remember, we had an array, right, defined in our schema. It's not just one task. It's not just one kind of task that it can return. In this case, what it will return? It will return an actual array of tasks, and it will update start date of this ticket, well, 3 weeks apart from previous one, to this ticket, 3 weeks apart from previous one, and for this ticket as well. Remember, it's using context to know what it's doing, to see all the ticket, and it uses actions to actually tell the system what system have to do with the user input. And yeah, and it also kind of describes what it did in the same response message it sent us. Okay, let's move on. Those were actions. And now, sorry again. Okay, it's already something that we are considering an agent in our case, a system that is our copilot that is able to act on a system and change its state. A little bit like a bonus to it would be inline objects. And I'm just bringing this up because it's really similar to actions. When you receive some response from a chatbot, and it maybe has some table in it, maybe some, I don't know, link to somewhere else. In our case, we might want to see, let's say, a Jira card. Like I ask a question like, what issue do I have to take right now? And it might return me not just a textual response, but also nicely looking embedded card for a ticket. We describe them same way as actions, just in a different property in our JSON schema. And now we can see an example. Give me a summary of a rock, I'm asking it. And here it will again ask me which one. And we will see our kind of first embedded object right here. So in this case, embedded object is quick answer options. And this embedded object is described like this. Whenever you are asking users for some information back, when you can provide answer options, provide them in this way of embedded quick response object, right? And then we just render it at the bottom. We receive a JSON object from RoboBobo when it describes all these buttons, what it should contain, and we render it. Okay, so this is our first returned object. We select a ticket, and it will provide me a summary as a text or as a short description, but it also will include Well, in this case, it's just a simplified card for a ticket. You can add more buttons to this card, like, I don't know, you can come up with your own additional functionality. What's important is it kind of knows when to embed an object in its response. And we achieve it by defining those objects in a JSON schema and providing description in a prompt part. All right. Yep. So, and now, this will be like a last demonstration. All of those previous demos showed some sort of direct request from a user, direct response from a Robobobo. Well, if you're a developer and you're working in Jira and there is some process, it's often the case that you are not quite sure what the process is, right? Because it changes all the time and it's too complex and who even needs it. And walk me through experience just utilizes all those actions that we implemented before, all those embedded objects before, to help users, to guide them through some process. In this case, Jira tickets. So let's proceed with the demo. Let's boot up our Robobobo for the last time, and we see that these two tickets are red. They have some issues. Well, like if we will hover on some issues, right? We don't even know what issues they have. We have this quick button available here, like help me with my rocks, and we call features rocks, like don't ask probably, but we call them rocks. Help me with my tickets, okay? And let's ask Robobobo that. And Robobobo can kind of help you. First of all, it describes you what problems you have. So one rock is, one ticket is just overdue. Another one is missing kickoff, scheduled for it, like kickoff meeting. And it kind of provides you also an options how to solve these problems. So for the first ticket, it kind of proposes to update status. Maybe it's in overdue in Jira, but it's actually in progress already. Or adjust a start date. So it's not in progress, but you will start work on it later, right? For a second ticket, it kind of gives you an option to yes, schedule me a kickoff, or no, well, yeah, I'll figure. So let's select an option for the first one. I think I selected update, yeah, it's overdue. Second is update status. Update status. Do you know what tickets, what statuses you have in Jira in your project? You probably do, right? But anyways, Robobobo tells you you have this available. I will just put it in progress, and it will disappear from a board. This one, it will just go away from a board because we don't track in progress tickets. Those are fine. Yeah, so that's fixed. It's already kind of helped you. Next. Next one was this one, which was, what was it? Yeah, it was missing a kickoff. It kind of proposes you to schedule a kickoff or just not. Well, let's schedule a kickoff. And what will happen here? Yeah, it needs a date for a kickoff. Right? Tomorrow at noon. Sounds good to me. Okay, so now it responded that kickoff is scheduled. It also kind of listed all the people that is invited to that kickoff, but it also knows that in our process in Jira, we track kickoffs in Jira as well by just adding a label to a ticket that kickoff is scheduled, all right? And then it will not be in this red status anymore. And because it knows it, after it scheduled the kickoff, it double checks with the user. Does the user wants to add this label or not? Because actual scheduling, in reality, it opens up an email application and it lets you to click a send button, like just to confirm details. And therefore it doesn't kind of know whether you send it or not. So therefore it double checks. Do you want me to update a label of a ticket to represent that kickoff is scheduled? And obviously we will click yes. Add label. It will be right here, labels, at the top, kickoff schedule. So our agent helped us essentially to fix 2 Jira items which were in some sort of incorrect state. Yeah. One bonus section, and it's the last one. You know, when you have to work with those ChatGPT or some other assistants, you kind of get bored to their attitude. They're always like kind of polite and kind of the same, you know, kind of plain and So we allow you to choose what RoboBobo will be communicating today with. So we have a default one. Well, it's just the same old stuff. We have, if you like feel particularly fancy and you want to it referred to you as Mr. Moskaļenko or like whatever, you can choose Mr. Bobo. When if you like want to be calm, you know, to just not to rush and stuff, you can choose Bobo Zen. And then if you just, well, cool and, you know, try like to surf, you can choose Bobo Dude. It will be chill and it will call you buddy, and so on. Yeah, this is our first agent and how we build it. We are proceeding with this approach to our actual customer-facing co-pilots. And yeah, thank you. That's it for me today. I'm happy to take any questions now, but also later you can find me around. I will be in a white hoodie with a RoboBobo logo on it. So yeah, come to me. I can show you more code, more stuff, and yeah. But any questions now?
It feels like this almost belongs to be inside of Jira, not outside of it. Does Jira not provide this kind of functionality as of now?
Well, Jira has some AI, and if you might try it, and I guarantee you will love Jira even more after you try what is in there available right now.
Yeah, I also know it's complete shit.
Well, what exactly? AI or Jira? I mean,
yes.
Yeah, I'm really sad that Raymond's already left. I was kind of maybe hoping for some actual proposal from him. I mean, who knows? But no, Jira doesn't have. It should be there, in my opinion. But if you want this experience, just come to Levelpath. It's easy. It's right here. Yep. Thank you. Yep.
Do you have any metrics for success? How much time does it save, or like how much does it increase developer happiness?
Well, we don't have any proper metrics for this in place. This is an internal tool. We just, you know, it was just a fast project to implement it. I can tell you, like, just my experience. Like one time, like a couple of weeks ago, we didn't have any wrong ticket in our process. Well, it sounds boring, but it was a huge success for us. Sometimes developers share memes with me when they kind of mute notifications from RoboBobo in Slack. So I think it kind of counts as a success, right? But no actual metrics. It really helps to keep our tickets in right places at all times. So that kind of works for us.
Can it fill in Jira timesheets?
That's a goal bump.
It could, right? We don't track time. Is it about tracking time in Jira? Yeah? Yeah. So, well, another reason to come to Levelpath. We don't track time in Jira. But essentially, anything Jira can do, you can implement as an action. Obviously, it will require new action in JSON schema, new description when this action has to be performed. Perhaps it will require context to be added, like actual state of timesheet of particular item, and then like why not, right? Because it can.
Would be useful functionality in some companies, let's say.
I know some companies for that.
Invent 8 hours.
Yegors?
You didn't mention this. This is less of a question, more of a comment. Feedback about RoboBobo. You didn't mention that piece, but it does reach out proactively to you in Slack. And it says things like, yo, you forgot to send this to testing, you released this yesterday, or you should have started working on this feature, and it seems like you haven't, maybe you forgot to update the status. You do not need to actually visit this platform thing to ask it to help you. It does that on its own, which is amazing. Thank you, Deniss. Because I am very forgetful.
That's why we don't have any managers. We just automate.
Well, yeah. So yeah, I try to kind of give a short version, just bare bones, how to like. It's really easy. You should have like seen it. It's just one prompt, one schema, one OpenAI, I don't know, model. That's it. And it already is, well, first of all, it's really robust. Comparing to describing schema in prompts, it's just robust. It never fails just because of that. And second of all, I think it's, yeah, I forgot about the second, yeah, never mind.
Well, when you say it's robust, are you saying it never makes wrong actions?
Well, essentially, yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So you said you're using the OpenAI model. Aren't you concerned about security? Because you're kind of providing the information about your tickets?
Yeah, that's true. And this might be quite a blocker, especially in a company that use timesheets to track, like, you know, time in Jira. In our company, it's allowed, and also we have like, I don't know, 20, 30 something customers which are using not this, but co-pilots. Everyone except one customer kind of gives their consent and like have no worries about particularly OpenAI and their data being shared to OpenAI. But it's our case. I understand it's maybe unique. I don't know, but we know the risks, and we kind of just go with it. So, yeah.
I can also add to that OpenAI explicitly defines in their policies about data retention what they do, and GPD's case is generally safe. You can, by default, you're opted out of data collection. It's just for the duration of the prompt that it doesn't store the data or training models on it. So it should be generally okay, but for each model, you just should check separately whether and how it will handle the data afterwards.
Thank you, Deniss. Yes, please.
Yes, my thanks for the presentation. It's good that you have promoted your RoboBobo from assistant to agent so quickly. So actually, the question is, does it possible for the RoboBobo to identify dependencies, especially, for example, in my case, big user story split to multiple one, and there's dependency when one is delivered, then next is coming. So the question is, the developer is able to get the summary of the previously delivered stuff, and because of the dependency set in Jira.
Well, so first of all, context, or essentially main data source that it sees, includes your current kind of unprepared tickets that you have to still work on to kind of prepare, and then children of those tickets. This context is static, essentially, right? Probably for more advanced scenarios, when you want to actually track some sort of long chains of events, or maybe fetch some additional tickets from a big database of tickets, right? you will be limited by a context window, and therefore some sort of RAG has to be implemented. Classic RAG just goes, you first retrieve some documents and you, like few of thousands, you add them to your prompt and give some answer back like from that. With agents, it's sometimes you don't want to retrieve those documents right away. You want to wait for an agent to actually require those documents. It's also something similar to what Ramon's told. And in this case, we are currently implementing for a different application. We're defining an action for each use case, like when you want to retrieve some additional objects, like Jira tickets, maybe suppliers, maybe some agreements from a system, which are relevant to a current user request. We define those as an actions. What happens next is classical RAG. What we do with those retrieved documents, we actually, I call it double tap. So first time user query comes into RoboBobo or assistant or agent, it doesn't have those retrieved documents. Agent tells those documents have to be retrieved, we retrieve those documents, and with those documents we come back to agent, but now instead of action for retrieving documents, we take that action away from it, so it cannot retrieve more documents. And we kind of just, well, replace it with the retrieved documents. Everything else stays the same, and now we return response to a user. Like benefit of it is it's still just in one place, so everything is defined there, so it's kind of self-aware, it knows all its options. Cons is you have to perform 2 requests, but in many cases you cannot do the same stuff like in one request anyways, so it's not quite a con. So for additional retrieval, for additional context, you either include it to in initial context, and then you're limited by a context window, or you just resolve to some sort of action specifically for RAG of a sort that you actually need.
No more questions?
Not a question, but a comment. It's definitely lacking one personality, the passive-aggressive one. Congratulations, you managed to fail to start on time again.
Well, I mentioned we're not allowed to kind of share our data, but we're not like we are allowed to share our data, but we are not allowed to behave passively aggressively in Levelpath. So that's unfortunately.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And